It's springtime, roses are blooming, and it's time to pick them out, but how do you know which one is right for you? Hybrid teas, Floribunda, grandifloras, miniature, climbing, and more. So let's start with hybrid tea roses. These are what we call long-stemmed roses, and they will have one bloom on a long stem. So if you're wanting to use roses for cut flower arrangements and you want to put them down in a vase, it would be a really good idea for you to use hybrid tea roses. Now the downside to hybrid teas is they may not make a whole lot of flowers, and that's where Floribunda comes in. So Floribunda just translates to an abundance of flowers, and that's a really good example you can see here where this will have multiple blooms for every stem. You can see on this one that's starting to develop, we have one stem here and we have about 10 flower buds that are going to open up. Now Floribundas may not do well in a cut flower arrangement because they have very short stems and a lot of times smaller blooms, but they look great in the landscape for giving you just a lot of color. And then that brings us to grandiflora. Grandiflora is a cross between your hybrid teas and your Floribunda, and so a lot of times they're gonna have the best of both worlds. So you'll see some that have more of that long stem and others that have more blooms per stem, but this is a really good sized flower, a really nice one that could work in the landscape or for cut flowers a lot of times. Now these tree roses are really cool because they've actually been grafted onto a tall rootstock, and so you've got a shrub rose on top of a long stem. It looks really cool in a patio pot or in the landscape. Now that brings us to climbing roses. Now at first, climbing roses are gonna look like any other rose shrub, but don't be deceived. If you plant this in the ground, what they're gonna do is they're gonna start growing these really long canes that will start getting 10 feet tall, and they start arching over, if you've ever seen that, because climbing roses will grow very long, very fast. And they're not like a vine where they're gonna twirl around something or cling to a piece of wood. They actually need to be trained or tied onto a trellis or an archway in order to get that effect of having a really big, full climbing rose. So hopefully this clears up some of the terminology associated with roses, so that way whenever you go shopping for your roses, you'll have a better picture of what you're looking for, and you can narrow down that selection to see what's gonna work best in your yard. And as a bonus tip, if you want your roses to look as good as ours, I've got 2 steps that'll help you out. 1, be awesome. 2, don't be not awesome.